We'll continue with pragmatics, and let's do a quick review about how to be direct and how to be indirect in terms of the language. I'm sorry, I erased it too quickly.
No.
Okay, all right. So we have 3 different sentence types only in order to do everything we need to do with language. And those are the declarative sentences and interrogative sentences and imperative sentences. And this for you is a quick review of what we have already covered in the Intro to Linguistics, but in this class it's also important to kind of keep this in mind when we talk about politeness, when we talk about indirectness. And as the book points out, indirectness is not always more polite necessarily, because we use also indirectness in order to be sarcastic or ironic. So that's a good definition of irony or sarcasm when we can identify that, oh, this was an indirect speech act. Like if somebody says that's a really nice hairdo, and they mean the opposite. So that is sarcasm. It means that is not a nice hairdo, but I'm not going to say it. I'm just going to be sarcastic about it. And then I cannot be blamed for having criticized your hairdo or nice shoes. And you really dislike the shoes, and yet you use this indirectness. You say the opposite. That's irony. That's sarcasm, and that can be really, really nasty. So it's sometimes indirectness can be more impolite than directness. But back to this grammatical issue, that we have only 3 different kinds of sentences available to us. Exclamatory sentences are not a different sentence type, because if you say, today is Thursday, and if you make it as an exclamatory sentence, today is Thursday, it's still a declarative sentence. And interjections like ouch or oh no, those are not sentences at all. They're just, they are not even fragments. They don't have the subject and the agreeing verb. So we have only these. We can make we can build declarative sentences, and if we take this as an example, it is Thursday. We can make it into a question. How?
Is it Thursday?
Yes, is it Thursday? And now we have an interrogative sentence. And interrogative sentences and declarative sentences can be told apart from each other because of their syntax. So here we have it is Thursday, subject verb, and here they have been inversed. So you have is it, a different word order. And of course in writing we indicate interrogative sentences by a question mark at the end. Then imperative sentences are also identifiable by their syntax. We can say, check your calendar. And the syntax here identifies this sentence as an imperative sentence because it's missing something. It's missing the overt what. What is the underlying subject in check your calendar? Which has been deleted. You check your calendar. and that would be the underlying form, but for imperative sentences we don't say that you, it's deleted. So we develop interrogative and imperative sentences from declarative sentences via sentence transformations. And that's something we would talk about more in the grammar class. So here just FYI, these are the only kinds of sentences we have, and interrogative sentences are derived from declarative sentences, and imperative sentences are also derived from declarative sentences. So this is kind of like a nice thing about language, that we don't have, and it makes it possible for children to acquire language, because they don't have to learn every single sentence separately and the structure of every single sentence separately. The structures are limited. We have these three possibilities, and they are interconnected because we can make declarative sentences. We can use the declarative sentences to come up with the interrogative and imperative sentences by grammatical operations. Relatively simple, sometimes a little bit more complex. Like WH question transformations are in English, they are a little bit more complex because you have to sometimes, most of the time, insert the do in the correct agreement form, correct tense form, and so on. But that's the stuff for the grammar class. So we have these three sentence types, and these three sentence types are in a way given to us so that we can do three basic things. So that we can do three or perform three different basic speech acts that we need in life to get by. And those are the speech acts of, what do we do with declarative sentences? We make assertions, right? Or statements, assertions. And with interrogative sentences, what do we do? Like, what day is it today? Is it Tuesday today? What was the year you were born? What is your mother's name? When are you going back home? What are we doing with those interrogative sentences?
Questions.
Yes, we're asking questions. We're searching for information about our whatever we're interested in. So assertions make statements about the world. Questions ask for information about the world. And what do we do with imperative sentences?
Is that like instruction or demand?
Demands, requests, orders. Yes, we boss other people around. Like, do this, don't do that, and bring me a chair, fix me some coffee, and that allows us to manipulate other people by using the imperative sentence structure to give orders and make requests. So these three are speech acts. And this all is part of the speech act theory that your textbook makes references to. So we do these things with declaratives. We typically make assertions about the world, make statements about the world. Interrogatives, we look for answers. We ask questions. And with imperatives, we manipulate other people. We tell other people what they should be doing. Now, of course, these are the key basic speech acts that we need in order to get by. And it again is if you think about the cave people, it was enough. So of course this is not an exhaustive list of the speech acts, because everything we do with language every act that we perform with language that can be an additional speech act, like a minor speech act, but these are the basic ones. So we can make bets. I bet you will get an A in this class. I promise you will get an A in this class. I can make a threat. If you don't study, you won't get an A, so on and so forth. So we have marriage pronouncements, we swear oaths, and all kinds of little different important things that we do with language, because we use language in order to perform these acts. And this is all in interaction, so it fits the speech act theory topic fits very nicely within sociolinguistics, because sociolinguistics is about interaction within society, and this is kind of like understanding how we interact within society. We use different speech acts to do different things, and then this is intertwined with politeness, because the basic idea is that there are things that are kind of sensitive, and we don't want to be very direct about it. If we criticize someone, if we want another person to do something for us, we enter the face-threatening area. That we are threatening someone's face if we ask someone to do something, for instance. So that's when politeness issues kind of step in, and we try to be polite very often by being indirect. But let's first understand, this is a review for you, understand what it means to be direct. How can we define that a speech act was direct? A declarative sentence is a speech act of an assertion, or an assertion is a direct speech act if it's in the form of a declarative sentence. So then it would be direct speech act if it's declarative. Today is Thursday. If I really mean to just make an assertion that today is Thursday, that there is no hidden agenda behind today is Thursday, then it's a declarative sentence. It's just an assertion, and it's direct. Now, if I say today is Thursday, and you look at your syllabus, and on the syllabus it says exploration number 3 is due. I could say, okay, today is Thursday, before I start collecting or giving you instructions of how to get me the explorations, the assignment that is due. So I could do that too, and today is Thursday, and then it would be a reminder or even a request. Remember to turn in your explorations, right? So that would be indirect. Rather than me saying, give me your explorations, I'm saying today is Thursday, hint, hint. So that would be indirect. Now, an interrogative sentence typically used for questions, and if an interrogative sentence really is a question, then it's a direct speech act. If that's the force of the interrogative sentence. So is today Thursday? If I'm really looking for information, if I am forgetful and don't remember, then it's a direct speech act. But if I say is today Thursday? Are the assignments due today? That could be, an indirect, of course, an indirect speech act as well. And we'll be looking at more examples of all of these cases. Then, anyway, if an interrogative sentence really is asking for information, then it's direct. But we very often use interrogative sentences in order to be indirect, like ask people to do you have time to help me? You will say, yes, I do, or no, I don't, and we use indirect speech acts very often in order to kind of pretend that the person you are requesting a favor from has an option of denying. Sometimes it's not really a real option, if I say, can you turn in your assignments? Yes, I can. No, I can't. It is an indirect speech act requesting the assignments. So it would be an interrogative functioning as a request. Okay, and imperatives are if imperatives are used in order to make a request or give an order, then it would also be a direct speech act. Turn in your assignment. Okay? So when we have a match between the three sentence types and the three quote-unquote original functions, then we have direct speech acts. So that's one way of being direct. But there is another way of being direct, and your book tells about the performative verbs, that we make it clear by a performative verb what the intended speech act is. Like, for instance, I assert that today is Thursday. Assert is a performative verb which makes it overt that this is a direct speech act. What I'm doing, I'm really making it very explicit. I'm telling you I assert, or I hereby assert. I hereby ask you what day it is today. And there the performative verb ask makes it clearly a direct speech act. And I hereby order you to turn in your assignments by midnight today. That I hereby order it, or request. Let's make it a little bit lighter. These are, by the way, order and request. It's pretty much the same speech act. However, requests are not as forceful. Orders are more forceful. Okay, so I order you to turn in the assignments, or I request you to turn in the assignments. Is order and request are used as performative verbs in that particular utterance, and they make it explicit what the speech act is, and it is a direct speech act. Now, you realize that I assert that today is Thursday. I ask you if today is Thursday. I order you to turn in the assignments today. These are all declarative sentences, but because of the performative verb, they are direct speech acts. So there are two ways of being direct. Either have a perfect match between the sentence type and its quote-unquote original function, or by the use of the performative verb, and then it's always a declarative sentence. So let's look at some examples. Let's look at the direct speech acts first. Do you see that? Is that visible enough? Okay. So if we have a sentence, did Kim marry Lee? This is an interrogative sentence. It's a yes/no interrogative sentence, and it's asking for information. If it's really asking for information, you really want to find out from your interlocutor whether Kim married Lee, then it's a direct speech act. The second way of making this into finding this information through a direct speech act is to use the performative verb ask. I ask you whether or not Kim married Lee. Note that the first question is direct by it being matching. Here, it's an interrogative sentence. It matches the speech act of a question if you're really looking for the information. The second one is a direct speech act by the virtue of it having the performative verb ask there. So these are the two ways of being direct. Having a match between the sentence type and its function, or quote-unquote original function, and then the second way by having that performative verb in the sentence. Okay, so let's look at indirect speech acts then. We have indirect, and this is the challenge. This is kind of like the richness of language, the richness of social interaction, that we don't necessarily always know whether you know what the purpose of the person's utterance is, what the ultimate purpose is, and sometimes the person, him or herself, doesn't even know that. Sometimes we don't ourselves really analyze what we really mean by what we are doing. But of course, in a class like this, we kind of learn to be more knowledgeable about what we do with language and how we do it. So what is always clear is what the sentence type is. So this is the form of the sentence. We can see by its syntax that it's either a declarative sentence, an interrogative sentence, or an imperative sentence. But these functions, what we really do with the sentences that we utter, that's not always transparent. It's not always clear. Sometimes, as I said, we don't ourselves know what we mean. And these lead to those interesting interactions between our interlocutors, our loved ones, people we run into, that we don't necessarily know what they mean. And someone says something, and you're not sure which speech act they really wanted to perform, because we can't go to a person's brain and open it and see, what did you mean? What was your intention? Because the speech acts, they are tied with the speaker's intentions. And of course here, it may cause these ambiguities and misunderstandings and quarrels even sometimes. What did you mean by that? And then you kind of have to try to analyze what kind of a speech act was it. Was it a question, or was it an order? Like, did you already fix the dinner? Is that a genuine question, or is it a request for the person you're talking to start fixing the dinner? Did you already take the trash out? Is it a question, yes, no question, or is it a request to take the trash out? Yes?
So it's just a hint at what you want them to do? It's just a hint, you're just hinting at it? You're not saying it directly, you're just hinting at it?
Is it the, I'm sorry.
It's a hint.
Yeah. It could be a hint, and then it's an indirect speech act. Sorry. No, it's I have not before understood how much I actually rely on looking at people's mouths when I listen to them. Have you noticed anything like that? It's sometimes I feel that I can't function in the senses are kind of like impaired by the fact that we can't really see what is going on. I wear this, but it still kind of blurs my vision. but I don't know what it has to do with my hearing. The hearing and the vision kind of like go together. But I read the lips a lot, I've noticed. So I really apologize. So, okay, let's look at these examples. I don't know if Kim married Lee. This is a declarative sentence. I don't know. But is it an assertion? That is always defined by the situation. And this is what is really referred to more specifically as felicity conditions. Like, what are the conditions that make a speech act into what it is? So what are the conditions for it to be an assertion? What are the conditions for it to be a question? What are the conditions for it to be an order or request, or some of these, bets or oaths or promises or threats or whatever? So it's a declarative sentence, but do you think that in a most likely situation it's just an assertion? I don't know if Kim married Lee. If you say to your friend, I don't know if Kim married Lee, what kind of a reaction would you want to hear? If you say this to a friend who is a friend of Kim and Lee and would have been likely to get an invitation to the wedding, then it probably is not an assertion about what you know and what you don't know, but it's it's a question, yes. Another way of doing the same thing is that you seem to be making an assertion, but you really aren't. 3 is a case where you seem to be making an assertion about what you know and what you don't know. In 4, I would like to know if Kim married Lee. It's probably a little bit more explicit, but it's still an indirect question. I would like to know, because why would you say to anyone, I would like to know if Kim married Lee, and your friend who knows whether they got married or not doesn't say anything like, oh, okay, that's nice that you would like to know, but I'm not going to tell you. So it is a declarative sentence, but it's most likely a question also. So it's just not in the interrogative form. Of course, what would be the clearest, most direct way of asking, finding this information about whether these two got married or not? Did Kim and Lee get married? Did Kim marry Lee? That would be a direct. Why do you think we often avoid those kinds of questions where we use a direct interrogative? Those kinds of direct questions which use an interrogative sentence. Did Kim marry Lee? Did they get married? Why do you think we have this tendency to avoid it? It's for social reasons. Because if you go around asking questions from people, did they get married? What kind of a face are you projecting of yourself? That you're this, gossip person, that you just go around asking about people and you do it very directly. I mean, that's not necessarily a bad trait, but we somehow grow up that, trying to avoid asking too directly. So, did they get married? Did you do your homework? So, it's regarded as some kind of a negative trait, mildly negative trait in our culture at least. So number 5, do you know if Kim married Lee? Here we have an interrogative sentence. Do you know? It's a yes/no question. but it's still an indirect speech act. Explain that to me, please. Could you explain that to me more indirectly? Do you know if Kim married Lee? Why is it still an indirect speech act?
Because no one really has to give you an answer. I feel like if I asked my dad that question, like, do you know if this person married them? They're like, I know. He wouldn't really give me an answer, yes or no answer.
Yeah, so that would not be satisfactory if somebody just says, yes, I know, or no, I don't know. You're most likely to address this kind of utterance, do you know if Kim married Lee, to a person who you believe that could be giving that information to you. You wouldn't even be addressing this to, if you really want to know, you wouldn't be addressing it to a person who is not a friend or who doesn't know Kim and Lee at all. It wouldn't make any sense, and that's the felicity conditions. One of the felicity conditions of questions is that you really want to know the information. If you don't want to know the information, it's not a genuine question. Like what we do as teachers all the time, we ask questions, we pretend to ask questions which really are not questions as speech acts, because we better know the answers, right, if we are teaching. So I usually tell about the little Swedish girl by Astrid Lindgren, whose name was Pippi Longstocking. And Pippi Longstocking doesn't go to school, she's 7, but then she one day decides to go because her friends Tom and Annika are going to school too. So she's like, I'm going to go and check it out. And takes her horse and goes to the elementary school. Rides directly into the classroom, which is a math class going on, and the teacher asks the question, quote unquote, what is 1 plus 2? And Pippi is like, what? You're a teacher and you don't know what 1 plus 2 is. So Pippi takes these things very, very seriously, likes the directness, and she's like, I'm out of here. If you don't know what 1 plus 2 is, you're not entitled to be, you can't teach me anything. So we why do teachers then use this strategy of using pretend questions during classrooms?
Is to indirectly get something, like I guess it's a request. Is it a request?
Yeah, to engage the classroom and to also find out if they have done their work, if they've done their readings, if my teaching if my explanations have been adequate, so that the students have understood it, so that they can, throw it back to me. So it's a pedagogical strategy to pretend to ask questions, because a genuine question, one of the felicity conditions is that you really, really want to know the answer. You don't know the answer, you want to know the answer, and you address that utterance to a person you believe can provide it to you. But that's clearly not the classroom question, the felicity conditions for the classroom question, because you may ask. I don't ever like to do it, that I look at the roster and I say, okay, James, define something, what is the definition of a speech act or whatever. I don't like to do that because it kind of is a face-threatening thing if the student doesn't know it. But also, if I were to do that, if I were to use that strategy, it would underscore the fact that it's not really a genuine question, because I don't even know if the person can provide the information. So, yeah, okay. And so what is interesting about this directness versus indirectness is that while we can know what the sentence type is always by just looking at the syntax of the sentence, we do not know what it really means, and this can lead to these conversations. What did you mean by that? Do you want me to do it, or or something? You know, if someone asks you, can you have you already started fixing dinner? It's like it can lead to a confrontation if you suspect that it's not really a genuine question, but it's an order or request. Start fixing dinner. Fix dinner for me. And it's interesting to kind of like be looking at these sort of things, and here would be another good topic for your presentation. Again, there are so many good topics when we are really looking at how language is used in society. So this would be, you know, indirectness, just kind of looking at how people are using language. When you do your 30-minute recordings of your friends, your family, whoever you feel comfortable, who feel comfortable giving that donation to you, that speech donation for your class project, you may find some issues in the transcript that show that this is an indirect way of doing something that the person is not doing directly. Like, you know, if you think about a classic situation, mother and daughter are going to meet an older aunt or whatever to visit, and the girl comes down from her room upstairs and is wearing holey jeans and a tiny tank top, and the mother says, "Are you gonna wear that?" That is an indirect speech act. It's in the form of an interrogative, but what is it doing? What is its purpose?
I gotta change.
Yes, go change. Go change. That's a horrible outfit. So, from the point of view of the mother and the older aunt. So, it is not really a question, right? And of course, that can sometimes lead to hard feelings, but it is indirect, and the mother is probably trying to mitigate her criticism of the daughter's clothing style at that moment by not saying, "Go change." So, anyway, look into, keep your minds open in your interactions to indirectness and directness, because it sometimes tells interesting things about what's going on. So 5 is an interrogative sentence, still an indirect speech act, because you're not really asking the person if the person knows, but you want the information. So the same thing with 6. Could you tell me if Kim married Lee? This is a little bit more, it looks more direct. Could you tell me? But you note that it's still an indirect speech act, because the person is given the, it seems that the person is given the option of saying, "No, I won't, I couldn't tell you," or "Yes, I could tell you, but I won't." So, do you have any questions about this? Let's practice then. So let's try to determine the form of the sentence, and it's going to be one of these 3. And then the function in a typical, most likely scenario, because we need to know about the situation where these are said, and these can be used either directly or indirectly depending on the situation. So let's try to think about the most likely scenario. Jack is my cousin. What is the sentence type? Declarative, and what is it most likely doing? Speech acts do things. So what is the speech act?
Assertion.
It's assertion. Yes, you just say to your friend, "Oh, Jack is my cousin." You're making a statement, making an assertion. Who is Jack? What is the sentence type? Interrogative, and what is it most likely doing if you're just chatting with your friend?
Question.
It's asking, it's a genuine question. It's a direct speech act. Open the door. What is the sentence type? Imperative, and what is it most likely doing? Order, and therefore it's direct or indirect? Direct, yes. Please open the door. Is it different from open the door? Sentence type is, it's still imperative, and it is not as much an order looking thing. It's more likely now a request, yes. Because remember, order request, it's just a matter of degree. Like in certain situations, orders without the please are expected, accepted. Like in the army, the officers don't make requests of the soldiers, they give orders, and that's the expected thing. If a police officer stops you, you've been driving a little bit too fast, stops your car, and you roll down the window, and what do they say? What do they want to see?
License, registration.
Driver's license and the registration. And how do you think they're going to be forming it?
Point of order.
Yeah. Would they be using a direct speech act, like give me your driver's license and registration? Something like, could I see your driver's license and registration? I don't know.
Imperative, but direct order.
Yeah, so I think even in that case, a police officer, even though he or she has all the right to be giving you an order, they somehow try to mitigate it probably and say, can I see your driver's license? Or please give me your driver's license and registration. Well, next time I'll pay more attention when I get stopped for speeding. It's been a while since I don't go anywhere anymore. So. And it's a bad habit anyway to be driving Dad, too fast. Don't do it. But listen, if you get stopped, listen to what the police officer says, because these are interesting interactions. If you do that again, I'll tell Dad. Let's just focus on I'll tell Dad. What is the sentence type? Declarative, yes. So, what do you think? Is it just an assertion? I'm just, informing you. I'll tell Dad. What is hidden behind it? It's a threat, right? If you do that again, I'll tell Dad. I'll tell, and Dad has this ultimate authority. So depending on the situation, but here that leading if clause, the subordinate clause, if you do that again, I will tell Dad. Warning or threat. Those are very similar speech acts. But it absolutely is not a direct assertion, right? There's a spider on your pillow. Sentence type is, it's a declarative sentence, but is it doing something else than just making an assertion?
It could be a request, like there's a spider in your pillow, can you kill it?
It could be a request, get the spider outside, or whatever you do. We haul all the insects outside. I hate killing insects. But it could be a request, get rid of the spider. or a warning, right? Be careful. So these minor speech acts are actually very interesting. I bet they will lose. The sentence type, the form of the sentence is declarative. And what is it doing? What is the minor speech act here? There's a performative verb used.
Assertion?
Would it be a bet? Like, I bet they will lose. Or prediction. Yeah. Bets are some kind of, predictions in a way. Or could it be a direct speech act of an assertion? I bet they will lose. If no formal betting is...
I think it's like a social thing as well. Like you saying, I bet they will lose would be directly just saying they're going to lose.
Yeah.
In some situations.
Yes, so it could be an assertion, right? It is my opinion that they will lose, right? So yeah, that's good. You ought to study more is what sentence type? Declarative, and what is it most likely doing, not just an assertion, depending on who says this, to whom. So if it's the parent saying to a kid who keeps bringing D's from the tests home, then it's advice, maybe. It's a request. You ought to study more if the dad says that to the son. If the counselor at school or whatever, advisors, I don't know what the official name, if people who help in study skills, you ought to study more. It could be called an advice. So here we come to the felicity conditions. What are the conditions that who is saying what to whom in what situation? That determines the speech act. And the final one, I'll take you to a movie today, is in terms of the sentence type. Declarative, again, most of these are declarative sentences, but they do different things. What is the speech act here?
Assertion?
Would it be a promise? Invitation? Yeah. Okay, not just an assertion that I'll take you to a movie tonight. You're actually doing something. You're promising, you're inviting to take the person to the movies today. Okay, so determine the form again and the sentence type, direct or indirect. Let's do this quickly. Go wash that car. We have more different kinds of sentence types. What is the sentence type in go wash that car? Imperative, what is it most likely doing? It's an order. It's a direct order. Where's the Huntsville item?
That's a
Interrogative. And if a person is looking for the newspaper, wants to know where it is, then it would be a question. But if we have a situation that you go outside where the newspaper is typically delivered, and you say it's not there, you say, where's the Huntsville item, to the person you live with, and typically read the Huntsville item over the breakfast, then the person cannot know where it is, because the only person who would know is the deliverer of the newspaper. So then it would be, what would that speech act be? Where's the Huntsville item? Could it be an assertion like, the Huntsville item wasn't delivered? Where's the item? Okay, he's strange. Sentence type. Declarative, but what is it? Can it be? It can be an assertion. You know, if you're just like gossiping about a person with your friend, it could be an assertion that you say he's strange. But if your friend is planning to go for a date with this dude, and you say to your friend he's strange, then what would that speech act be?
Warning.
Warning, yeah. Please make some coffee. That's the direct, it's an imperative, a direct order. Could you please be quiet? Sentence type. Interrogative, and what is it most likely doing? Is it asking a question of whether you can be quiet or not?
It's a request.
It's a request. Be quiet. Can't you shut up? It uses more direct verb, shut up, than instead of be quiet, but is it indirect or direct?
It's indirect.
It's still indirect because I'm not asking, can't you shut up? Yes, I can, or no, I can't. I'm telling you to shut up, so it's an indirect. Interrogative functioning as an order or request. I find it really hard to concentrate with that music on. What is sentence type?
Declarative.
Declarative, and what is it most likely doing?
Indirectly. Asking them to turn off the music.
Yeah, if, again, we need to know what the conditions, what the situation is. If your roommate has the music really loud and you're trying to study, then it's a request, turn down that music, turn it off. But if you're just like, telling your friend you are at a restaurant and there's loud music there, and you say to your friend while you are waiting for your food, I find it really hard to concentrate with that music when you're trying to talk about something serious. Then your friend cannot do anything about the music. Then it becomes a direct assertion, right? You're just telling that I have a hard time concentrating. Yes?
Are only the declarative and the interrogative indirect at times?
They are very often used as interrogative, as in indirect requests and orders. Very often we have this kind of a situation that a declarative sentence is used as an indirect request, or an interrogative sentence is used as an indirect request. That happens. That's probably.
Would you say in like an imperative sentence indirectly would be like a joke?
Could you give me an example?
Like, imperative would be like,
Get out of here.
Yeah, get out of here.
Yeah.
Or be quiet. Like you don't really need it.
Yes, you can, and then again, the situation is kind of special, that you have to be with good friends, right? And you can't just, if I'm sitting in the audience of a meeting where the president of the university is saying something that I might not agree with, I would not say, get out of here, be quiet. So you have to have someone you know pretty well in order to use that kind of an imperative, because imperatives are perceived as rude, face-threatening per se. And it's interesting that would be like, I don't believe you, or be quiet. What would be quiet mean?
Be quiet is like, know that most of the time when people tell me, like I do it all the time, I tell people like shut up or like be quiet. It's just like calm down, but not really like seriously. Like it's funny. It's just
Right,
fun.
yes, yes. Yeah, okay, yeah. It is endearing in a way,
Yeah,
isn't it?
yeah.
Yeah. That's an interesting thing, that an imperative, we try to avoid them, but sometimes we use them indirectly to make like, I don't believe you, oh, shut up. Yes, so again, the situation is very important there. Kids, the trash needs to be taken out. Is this an assertion?
It's a request.
It's a request, yes. The person who says that wants to manipulate the people she's talking to. Would you be so wonderful and do some laundry tonight? It's an interrogative, but what is it doing?
Request.
It's a request. Again, we have that kind of indirectness. Take this memo to Dr. Brooks. Imperative, doing what? Making a request, right? Or order, giving an order. Did you see where I put my keys? Sentence type, interrogative, and is it a question?
I would say could be. Like it could be a question you just generally ask, like, do you know where I put my keys? They're by the door. But at the same time, sometimes you want them to find your keys for you. And help
Yes,
them.
good. And it comes back again to the felicity conditions. If there's enough reason that the person might have seen where you put your keys, then it is a genuine question. It could be a request, help me find my keys, I'm really in a hurry, I have to find them. Did you see where I put my keys? So these are interesting because the function can never be really known, so we may have these that's it. We may have these misunderstandings because of the indirectness. So, are you all clear with the negative face and positive face thing?
That was the consolation versus avoidance.
Yeah. So. Negative face is, we both have negative face needs and positive face needs. We want to be liked, but we also want to be given space, not to be intruded. So situations where you have to intrude on someone. Can you think of situations where you know that this is going to be an imposition, but I still have to do it?
I used to work at like fast food, and I guess it's when you're out of something and you really want to give it to that person because they really like they have like a kid or something.
Yeah.
You have to like let them know, sorry, we just don't have it right now. Like, we don't sell that anymore, but I would like to provide it to you, but I really can't. Like, I can't pull strings or anything. Or mostly with homeless people. Okay, so like at Pizza Hut, we're not allowed to give out food to like homeless people because they will just continuously come for like leftover pizzas, and it just becomes a problem. So we're not allowed to give out food, even though we're gonna throw it out that day. And it just kind of makes me sad, like, oh, we have all these pizzas stored that we're not allowed to sell because they've been in the heating area for too long, and then we just remake the pizzas most of the time.
Oh, so you need to tell a white lie.
Yeah, I have to tell them, sorry, I can't give out any food, like I would want to help you, but I just can't, you know, so I think
Yeah, that's tough. It requires a lot of maneuvering of language. Have you ever had to ask for a letter of recommendation? So that's another, because it's always, I mean, even though everybody who you ask for a letter of recommendation, like 99% of people are really happy to do it, and it's part of like our job to do it. It's interesting to see how people ask for the letters of recommendation. So, you kind of like try to make it very smooth in the beginning. I really, really enjoyed your class. Do you think you could be possibly? So there's a lot of mitigation, a lot of indirectness. Of course, I wouldn't say ever, I don't think I would, but it's an interesting situation where we have to impose on a person's negative face needs the need to be left alone, and I'm thinking about this because I found myself a couple of weeks ago in a situation where I had to write to multiple people asking for letters of recommendation, and I'm like, how am I going to do this? This is so hard, because that the people you are asking this are really, really busy, and yet you are imposing on their territory, on their time. So that's the we all have those negative face needs that we want to be left alone, and then we have the positive face needs that we want to project the best possible image of ourselves to people we are dealing with. And then the negative politeness and positive politeness, they kind of go together with those face needs. That, do I want to leave this crying person alone, or do I want to show my positive face as a caring person by asking if I can help you? Can I do something for you? So those are quite interesting things. So we've talked about directness and indirectness and rules of conversation, Grice's maxims. These are kind of like glossed over in your textbook, but they are extremely interesting because they are, it was Grice who wanted to make, because conversation looks really messy. Are there any rules to it? Yes, we can find rules for syntax to explain the sentences, but are there rules to conversation? And Grice wanted to show that, and he came up with these 4 different kinds of maxims. The maxim of quality, the maxim of quantity, the maxim of relevance, and the maxim of manner. And we can talk a little bit more about this after, like next week. But next, because it ties together with discourse analysis as well. And violations to Grice's maxims are really interesting to see. And you might find some violations to Grice's maxims in your 30-minute transcripts that or recordings that you will be doing. Somebody is just talking too much information, or too little information because they don't want to tell everything. Okay, that's all for today.